All right, everybody. Well, greetings. Welcome to the Rec.poker podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fredland. And as always, we are joined by our panel. We've got John Somsky, Rob Washam, and Jim Reed joining us tonight. I want to thank our official sponsor, Running Aces Racetrack, Casino, and Hotel, and our other podcast sponsors, Learn Pro Poker and website AMP. And this is episode 173. And today we're going to be talking with Elliot Roe, who's a coach, a speaker, a podcaster, and it's all really focused on mindset optimization and how do we get performance on demand. So we'll explore that with Elliot. Two quick things we want you to know. First of all, if you're a member and if you're not taking advantage of all the stuff that's out there, our recorded seminars, our Q&A and discussions, the book studies, the hand histories, recordings from our home game, all of that stuff, take advantage of it, man. There's so much great stuff out there that you can really pick and choose what you enjoy the most. And there's links where you can sit in on things like this podcast too. So take advantage of that stuff. And then secondly, we're going to be talking to Elliot Roe about his A-Game Poker Masterclass. And we are an affiliate for that. So go to rec.poker/resources, get some information on that and how you can sign up for that. So with that, greetings, Elliot Roe. How are you doing?
Hey, great. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Oh, we're super excited. We told people we're going to have you on the show. They're like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's have Elliot Roe. Let's figure out our brains and how we can be more optimal in our heads." And our target audience is a lot of recreational players, and so we're all trying to figure out how can we get in this mindset. So I think you're coming in at a great time, especially with the world where it is right now. And I think a lot of us are sort of adjusting our mindset to new paradigms, and how can we actually bring that to the table. So I'm kind of curious to start out, I guess, what are you seeing right now? Like, how are things changing in the world of sort of optimal performance, or however it is that you describe what it is that you do?
Well, I mean, specific to poker, the big change I'm seeing is the online poker boom. So, we've had DFS is effectively cancelled, sports betting is cancelled because all sports have stopped. And that means a lot of people who weren't playing poker or used to play poker have gone back to the game. So the biggest thing I'm seeing is obviously live has basically closed off, but online poker is booming in a way that, I mean, I've been in the industry for 10 years now, and I would say we're probably back to the best I've seen it in that 10-year period online. So for many other industries have been hit terribly, and I work with professional athletes as well, and obviously all of their sports have been cancelled and things like that. However, for the online poker folks, this is Christmas.
It is, and that's one of the things that, we really focus on the recreational player. And so some of us have played a lot online, some of us haven't, and a lot of our listeners haven't. And that's the question we're getting all the time is, okay, I think I want to start playing online. I'm missing the game. I need to get into the game. Where can I play? What's safe? And so we've been actually doing some podcasts and doing some other things around that because we're seeing that exact thing that you're mentioning. Kind of the people on the sidelines are sort of jumping in saying that maybe now's the time.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. Be aware, obviously, I'm assuming a lot of the listeners are in the US. Depending on where you are, it's not particularly safe in the US. You have to be very careful about which poker sites you're using, whether they're legal or whether they're not legal. So just be aware from that side. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning if someone's coming from live poker is really have an expectation to be playing much shorter sessions than you're used to because of the number of decisions that you're going to be making over a period of time. So, you might be making 4 times the decisions, and what is quite easy for you to play a 10, 12-hour session of live poker, you might find you're exhausted after 2 or 3 hours of online poker. So that's something to be really aware of if you're playing cash games, that it might be a very different experience in terms of number of decisions and your energy levels throughout that afternoon, that evening.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I wanted to ask you was sort of this transition from live to online and from a peak performance mindset perspective. What do you see there? I mean, are you actually working with people who are making that transition, or is this just sort of years of experience of doing this sort of give you an intuitive sense that, you're going to get exhausted sooner?
Oh, I'm working with people now making that transition, and it's also something I've seen when people make that switch from live play to online play. It's one of the biggest things that happen is fatigue comes up much faster. It's easier to forget that it's real money when you're playing online. So, I mean, obviously chips give some level of distancing from money to chips, but then you only switch that to online and it feels like a video game. especially if you're overly fatigued, you can start making mistakes that you just wouldn't have made live. So there are a few different things that you want to be quite aware of when you're making that transition.
So what I'm hearing is maybe be prepared to play, less lengthy sessions. Are there things that can be done to say, well, I appreciate that, Elliot, but I really do want to grind. This is sort of, I've lost my job, or this is something I'm really trying to make, supplement my income with now in this hard time. So I really do kind of want to grind for 12 to 14 hours a day. Is it sort of, there's just really no way to do that, or is it just?
You'll probably just get crushed if you do that. So to give you an idea, the majority of online cash game players I work with, it's quite normal for them to be playing 2-hour sessions a day, but multiple tables. And that would be normal for a mid to high stakes online cash game player. So if the people who are considered some of the best in the world are choosing usually to play those sorts of periods of time, they might play an extra 1 hour session afterwards. The chance of coming into it as someone who's not used to online poker and then deciding to play 3x what the professionals are playing, you're probably setting yourself up for failure there. And remember, you're still getting in more hands than even in 2 to 3 hours, you're probably getting in more hands than you would have done if you'd put those same 2 to 3 hours in your casino. And the games are soft enough right now that you might have a similar win rate.
I'm curious if it's sort of the number of decisions that makes you mentally fatigued, or if it's the time. So for example, if you play, 2 hours playing 4 tables, so you're basically making 8 hours worth of decisions, is it the 2 hour thing, or is it if I played, 4 hours playing 2 tables, that's sort of the same level of mental energy and mental exhaustion?
I think it's different from person to person in terms of what fatigues them more. But it's a combination of the above. So there is decision fatigue. There are going to be a number of decisions you can make before you start to fatigue, but also a length of time. And I think this is where physical fitness comes into it as well. A lot of the players I work with are sort of high-performing players playing at the nosebleeds. And one of the themes that I see with those players is nearly all of them are in good shape. Nearly all of them have personal trainers. Nearly all of them have really good diets, nutrition. And they do that so that they don't fatigue as quickly at the poker table. Now, if that's something that you haven't had to do in the past, it's something you might consider. Physical fitness might be something that you can gain a bit of an edge on, where, yeah, as I said previously, it might not have been the case, depending on if you're playing in local home games or something like that.
Oh, it's so good. So we kind of jumped right into a detailed subject of online play, just because I was super interested to hear about that. If we kind of step back, let's talk a little bit about just kind of what you do in general. What is this idea of performance on demand? Kind of help us understand kind of the bigger picture of what Elliot Roe does, and what is this optimal mindset idea, especially for a lot of us recreational players. This is sort of a new concept. We just, some of us, we played home games, we played bar leagues, and now we're kind of getting serious about this thing. We're trying to learn the game, and now there's this idea of what maximizing my mind. What is this going on? So kind of fill us in a little bit on.
Okay, fill in the gaps a little bit. So I'm a mindset and performance coach. I work with professional poker players, professional athletes. I work with Wall Street traders, CEOs of companies. Typically, clients are coming to me because they want to be able to perform at their best in these, moments where there's significant amount of money on the line. So the way that I work, my modality is I'm a hypnotherapist. And what we do through the hypnotherapy is help people understand the underlying issues behind their mindset problems at the table. So the easiest way to describe this for poker players that a lot of people can relate to is, let's say I have a live poker player who comes to me and they get really stressed by being 3-bet at the table. So they either get really anxious or they get really angry when someone keeps 3-betting them. When we go through this process of hypnotherapy with them, so there's nothing magic. It's not like the stage show stuff or TV. It's just like guided meditation. They get very relaxed, and then they start connecting to the reasons behind their issues. They will nearly always come up with issues around being bullied at school or being bullied by a parent. Right? So we then work through those bullying issues, and then when they go back to the table, the 3-betting doesn't feel so personal. So they're not triggered in the same way by the 3-betting, and it's something to adjust to rather than a personal attack. And I look to do that for anxiety issues, procrastination issues, fear of failure, fear of success. And typically, with the people at the very highest stakes, this is more like fine tuning. They're obviously not freaking out every time someone 3-bets them, but it might take them very slightly off their game. And that can be worth an awful lot of money to them if they can refine that and just stay on their game no matter the situation. So that's what I do. And as I say, in poker, it's sort of more around probably focus and being able to maintain their A game for longer periods of time. When it's for CEOs of companies, founders of companies, a lot of the time it's about them being able to manage their staff effectively, being able to deal with making people redundant, dealing with negotiations, stress and pressures of mergers, things like that. Does that make sense?
It does. No, that's fascinating. I think the examples really help too, because I've heard, it sort of put it in terms of the focus thing. That's sort of the one that I keep hearing about. And when I've looked at your stuff and some of the people I've talked to that have used your stuff, it's all about, I want to have more focus at the table. So that's clearly part of it. But that's a great example of sort of saying, well, why does it bother me? I mean, I suppose part of that would be, why does it bother me if I'm worried that somebody's going to suck out on me and hit that magic card on the river, or being 3-bet, or any of those sort of fears that we have, right? The monsters under the bed syndromes.
Yeah, so there's something there that set that up. So another example would be, hey, I really struggle when my aces get cracked.
Right.
Now, it doesn't help you if I say, hey, well, 20% of the time that's going to happen. You have to just get over it.
Right.
The question is, why does it bother you? Why do you feel entitled? Where's that coming from? And then working through where that's coming from.
Oh, that's so good. Rob, did you have a question or a comment?
Just real quick. Do they always come to you with a specific problem that they're trying to solve, or are they coming to you and just generally saying, I have some issues. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure what's bothering me. And then you do some deep dive to kind of figure out what it is that's bothering them, or do they always have a specific thing that they're looking for?
No, oftentimes they just know that something's not optimal. So they know they've got more potential there than they're able to show at the table or in the sport or in business. So a lot of the initial session work, the first session I do with someone's 2 hours, is this digging in, trying to work out what the real problems are before we get started. But it's usually a sense of, hey, something's not quite right. I know I have more potential than this, but I seem to be sabotaging myself. Like, I always keep the same problem keeps coming up. So we then dig into that, and sometimes the direction that we head is very different to the direction that the client was expecting to head, because we start seeing there are some pretty substantial self-sabotages holding them back.
I've
That's
got
so
a question.
Good. Jim, go ahead.
A lot of our audience and our members are recreational players, as Steve was saying, who are kind of transitioning to playing online now. I wonder if you have any advice for mindfulness or framing their mind when they're not actually playing, to help make them better on the tables nevertheless, whether that's something to think about while they approach studying, whether it's a way to think about their perspective and poker, how it fits in their life generally, or something that they can work on when they're not actually playing that'll help make them a better poker player.
Well, I have an app which I made with Fedor Holtz called Primed Mind, and you can download that for free. There's a decent percentage of it is free, and then you can subscribe and get more content. And that has a number of poker-specific hypnotherapy audios to listen to help you focus, to deal with anxiety, to deal with bad beats, those sorts of things. So that's a very easy way to start working on it. Any kind of mindfulness training is very useful for poker players. So mindfulness meditation is effectively sitting still, and as thoughts come in, following your breath, and if a thought comes in, releasing that thought and bringing yourself back to your breath. So what that allows you to do is you learn to train your focus by doing that. So at first you'll notice lots and lots of thoughts pop up, and as you gradually get better over 6 months, over a year, it's not a fast process. You can start to clear your mind for longer and longer, and that's basically training you to bring your focus back in. So that's very useful. I think the most important thing to view yourself as, if you want to be a competitive poker player, if you want to be successful, is you have to view yourself as the casino rather than the gambler. So you have to see yourself as someone, as you are turning up to entertain the gamblers at the table. You're looking for quarterly results or 6-monthly results or annual results. And the gamblers are going to be worried about the results of an individual hand or an individual session. And if you can get yourself into the mindset of long-term thinking instead of success in an individual hand or session, you'll see dramatic change in the level of results you get versus the turning up and being too emotionally involved in those individual situations.
Wow, yeah. Any other questions from you guys at all? Otherwise, I'll keep firing. John?
I kind of have one. So for me, when I play online in particular, which I'm thinking about doing more of now, one of my biggest problems is I tend to go on autopilot, where all of a sudden my brain is disengaging and I'm just kind of button mashing at that point in time. And then all of a sudden I'll wake up in the middle of the hand and go, why did I raise king deuce offsuit under the gun in this situation? I just don't understand. So what is an approach that would help me to maintain my focus, or what tools should I use if I find that happening to me?
Okay, so a couple of things there. One is do the mindfulness meditation type work. So that's training the focus. Another thing is just be really aware of how long it takes for you to lose your focus in online sessions. This is often caused by what I was describing earlier, a live player coming to online and then expecting to play similar session lengths, or even just longer session lengths than a professional online cash game player would play. I've had some cash game players I've worked with over the years who they found their optimal was 45 minutes of play, 15-minute break, 45 minutes of play. And then recreational players will often play for a number of hours in a row. So just be aware that it's normal to get distracted and potentially autopilot, especially if you have a lot of tables and a lot of decisions. And you've really got to work out what is absolutely optimal for you as a player, how long you can focus for and stay in your A game, and then look to gradually increase that over time rather than, just try and fight through it. Play these super long sessions, because like you say, if you start playing your ranges incorrectly, it can really damage your bankroll quite quickly.
That is true.
John, the reason you raised king deuce under the gun is because I was the opponent. So that was, that it really doesn't have anything to do with your mindfulness. It just has to do with your opponent. But but no, I think this is so good. I'm curious, Elliot, if one of the things that I know I was resistant toward maybe 5-10 years ago, before I even started playing poker, was sort of the psycho mumbo jumbo, okay, whatever. And I think over the last 10 years I've learned so much about psychology and hypnotherapy and a lot of these tools that I think you're talking about, that for me I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys listen to this guy. Like he knows of what he speaks. Like this mindfulness thing is an important thing, and it can really make you more successful in all areas of your life. But I'm curious, you're working with some of the best in the world, so they're already embracing this idea, and they're kind of bought in, if you will, to some degree. What sort of message can you give to the folks that are out there playing? I'm playing poker recreationally, whatever, or this stuff, whatever. That's just somebody talking about shrinking my head or something. There's always this resistance and the reluctance to actually become more self-aware and to sort of dig in deeper in this kind of thing. What's your message to the folks that are maybe going there, kind of rolling their eyes as they're listening to this?
I would say being skeptical is completely normal. I was skeptical before I first saw a hypnotherapist, for sure. So that's a normal starting point. And then typically with any industry or anything that you want to be successful in, you should just really look at what the most successful players in any industry, any sport are doing, and then copy their behavior. I'm working with a large number of very, very highly intelligent people, vastly more intelligent than me, and they're choosing to work with me because they're seeing changes in their results at the poker table. All of my work comes from word of mouth, so it's friends recommending friends. This isn't the sort of work you can advertise for. If I put out Facebook adverts saying, do you want hypnotherapy for poker sessions? No one's going to be clicking the Facebook link. the only reason I'm busy is because of the results my clients have got, and they've been, extraordinary. Like Fedor hadn't won a major tournament before we worked together. Alex Foxen hadn't won a major tournament before we worked together. I worked with Rast before he won the Super High Roller Bowl. Scott Blumstein before he won the main event. And the list honestly goes on and on and on in those sorts of things. It's close to $100 million now. You can be skeptical, but there's a reason why these players are taking their mindset so seriously now.
Yeah, and it's one thing, I look at your website and I see, okay, here's the graph of Fedor, right? Here's when he started working with Elliot Roe, and it's sort of here, and then it skyrockets after that. And as a statistician, I'm going, well, yeah, but is correlation necessary causation, that sort of thing. But then you hear what he says about it. We've had him on the podcast and what he said about mindset and how important that is, and the words that he used that you could put on your website, sort of endorsing your work. That there's something there. These people, Phil Galfond. I mean, these people that are saying, "Oh my gosh, this has radically changed my results."
Yeah, and it's something where you can. There is always causation and correlation. We can't ever say I might just be exceptionally lucky and everything's complete. But there's some stage when it's all it's a lot of the most successful players over the last 5 years have been clients, and many of them weren't as successful before they were working with me. It's not all me. Someone has to have all of the potential first, but it's just it's a small edge that a professional can gain. But when the professional is also evenly balanced, taking that small edge actually makes a big difference. In my belief, I think that's what's happening. Is it adds a very small percentage edge, but that can tip the balance in a way that can mean pretty substantial profits, especially if it means someone playing their A game slightly longer, being able to deal with the bad beats slightly differently. Because if they're not going on tilt, they're not having the horror sessions. That makes a huge difference at the end of the year when we're talking about this real long-term result versus the short-term week-on-week stuff.
Yeah, and in poker, I mean, a lot of us play tournament poker. Some of us play cash poker as well. There is that sort of, you're making a lot of minor decisions for most of the tournament. Most tournaments are minor decisions. Yes, they impact things and they do accumulate, and you want to be at your best there. But it's those times where, okay, now this is a big pot. This is somebody putting up the pressure. And usually in a tournament, those big decisions are going to come when you're at the final table, when you're playing for thousands of dollars. And so you've played a tournament. The way tournaments work, you can't do 2 hours on, 1 hour off, 2 hours on, 1 hour off. You're now at the end of this thing, and you're 10, 12, 14 hours, maybe into day 2 or day 3, and you have thousands of dollars on the line, and now the pressure's there, but you're at this point where you maybe are physically exhausted. So, are there ways that you can help people sort of, I mean, do you pace yourself? Do you just learn to have more energy because of your physical capacity, or what do you do in those situations?
So there are a number of things. The first off is physical fitness. I think it's incredibly important if you're playing multiple day tournaments. So if I'm talking to a client, I'll be saying, what does your fitness routine look like? What does your nutrition look like? What's your sleep schedule like? And we'll be working on that for months prior to the World Series normally. We'll then look at the breaks and how efficiently they're using their breaks in the tournament. So, if my clients are listening to me, when it comes to the dinner break, they'll be going to their hotel room, probably meditating, eating a very light meal, having a cold shower, and then coming back. The majority of poker players will be talking about bad beats in the kitchen, and queuing up for their food. And it's these small, again, it's this small compounding edges that actually make a dramatic difference when it comes to day 3, day 4 of a tournament. And there's one person who's been doing everything right the whole way through, and someone else who hasn't been taking those soft edges seriously. It actually becomes a big energy difference when it comes to their focus in those big decisions.
So what actually, I mean, if you don't mind kind of getting into the physiology a little bit of it, but what actually happens? Like, why am I going to be at a better place to make a better decision if I'm, going to my hotel room and eating a light meal and taking a cold shower, and not versus, telling the bad beats and eating my burger and fries? Like, how does it actually work out that I'm going to be in a better place?
Well, the first off, just in terms of digestion, if you eat a heavy meal, energy is moved to your digestive system, and it has to be pulled from somewhere. So you're going to be digesting your food rather than utilizing that energy for your thought process. So that's a really basic one. But then in terms of where the break comes in, is I would argue that it's not really a break if you're discussing bad beats. You're just continuing with poker. It's just a poker thought process is continuing. So you've got, and not only that, but you're talking about the most frustrating things that have happened for the last 10 hours. So you're just keeping yourself in that frustrated, anxious, stressed mindset. And then everyone wants to tell you about the terrible things that have happened at their table as well. So if we think about that, again, this isn't an enormous edge, but it will be an edge if someone else has just separated themselves. They've gone to have a salad and some chicken. They've maybe taken a 15-minute nap or done a meditation, and then they've had a cold shower to wake their body up again so that they're ready to play. Those two players, if their skill level is exactly the same, I would definitely be putting my money on the player who's gone through the routine that I've just described.
It's so good. I mean, especially at the levels that you're at. I mean, where are the edges, right? I mean, if people, we get all these geniuses that know GTO or whatever, they're so experienced that the poker itself, I'm not going to say just plays itself, but they're so experienced in the actual strategy and the bet sizing, and all of these things. Where are the edges? And so they're looking for that edge.
That tiny, it really is a tiny edge that they're looking to generate. But when, if it's $1 million buy-in,
it's cumulative.
That edge is worth an awful lot to them.
And and so at that level, even there's an edge. I'm curious, but at a recreational level, it seems like where people aren't doing all of the right things anyway, it feels like focus could be an even greater edge for a recreational player. Like, it's not this microscopic edge. Having physical fitness and being in the right mindset and making the best decisions possible, playing your A game, whatever your A game is, versus your B game is going to have a much bigger impact, I would think, even for a recreational player.
Especially if you're in home games. And a lot of the time, the money that's made in home games is against the person who goes on tilt first.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So if you can be setting yourself up to basically not be the first person who goes on tilt, you might find that's really, really profitable for you. And, I'm not saying that they should necessarily be working with mindset coaches like myself if it's recreational. It probably wouldn't make sense. But you should be reading around the subject. You should be trying things like meditation. Like I say, my app you can download for free. You should try downloading it for free. It's those sorts of things make sense because chances are the other guys in your home game are doing nothing. Right. So to have an edge against them, you just have to be doing something.
Love it. John, did you have something?
Well, yeah, I was just going to mention a few years, speaking of your app, a few years ago, I was having problems with insomnia. And your app has some things
section
in there, some sleep sessions in there. So I listened to all of those, and that helped me out tremendously.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know that this technique can definitely help. At least help me put me to sleep, and that's not a slam. That was the whole goal.
It was so boring listening to me.
Right. Is it just Elliot reading bedtime stories?
Yeah.
He did have a very soothing voice. But no, it was very helpful. Very helpful.
Awesome.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of your tools. I know that the time flies by and we're getting close to the end, but let's talk a little bit more about Prime Mind or the master's class, whatever kind of on your heart right now that you want to kind of share of projects that you're working on.
Yeah, so with Prime Mind, what we did is a number of the audios that we felt people might need currently, so anxiety, sleep, dealing with worry, things like that. We've put those on YouTube for free, so you don't even have to download the app any longer while people are dealing with this issue of the virus in the background. Yeah. So if you just go to YouTube and search Prime Mind, instead of charging, it's literally, you can just listen to them for free on YouTube. And the other thing that I've done to help the community at the moment is my mindset course on Run It Once was a $1,000 course, my A-Game Masterclass, and we've reduced it to $297 to put it in the budget of almost any poker player, any series, someone who's playing 1, 2 and above. So while the casinos in Vegas are shut, and instead of doing monthly calls for that, I'm doing weekly calls for that to try and give the community a bit more of a support and answer all the Q&As and things. So we just looked at what could we do to help, and these were the things that we came up with. So at the moment, obviously, if you are interested in working on your mindset, that masterclass, it is a $1,000 course. It was a $1,000 course for a reason. There's an enormous amount of work and homework and interviews with many of the top players in the world talking about what they did with mindset. definitely worth looking at the moment, at the price point of 297, even if you are recreational as a player, because a lot of the things we're talking about today, it will go into a significant depth in those different areas to help you work through your own mindset issues, understand what you need to do, and what the best players in the world are doing right now for their mindset.
Yeah, I do some coaching, not poker coaching, but some other coaching, and I've looked at online things, and I look at a lot of programs. And I looked at that and said, 297 for what is in there, for what is advertised. It's a fantastic value. And if there's people out there in Rec Poker Nation that want to kind of do this together, let's each buy a copy, let's each go through it, and we can have some discussion groups around it to kind of surround this thing with community. So if that's an interest of yours, let me know. And we can kind of create a study around this and kind of hold each other accountable for going through this. Is that?
And there's a lot of homework. Yeah, with some staking groups have done that in the past. Yeah. And as I say, I'm doing those Q&As weekly instead of monthly as well until the casinos reopen, because again, it's just trying to work out where we can help as individuals during this sort of crazy situation. That's give away free stuff on YouTube and discount my course seemed like the best I can really do. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I can't do real help, but I can keep poker players busy while the casinos are shut.
Well, I love it. I think that's part of the community. How do we respond to a global pandemic? Well, let's each add beauty where we can. And if in your case, you can discount this and do more frequent calls, if that's going to help people, make people feel better about life, make them engage more and not sort of lose heart, I think that's a beautiful contribution. So I would not reduce the impact of that. I think that's, you're saying, what can I do? And I love that. Well, let's
exactly. And
go ahead.
We just got to try. Oh no! I was just saying we just all have to try, and it's a strange time. So.
Isn't it? It is so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's kind of wrap up with where can people find you? How can they connect? I know you got ElliotRoe.com. Is that where they can start, or how do they connect with you?
Well, I've got pokermindcoach.com. There's a lot more specific poker stuff, or ElliotRoe.com. They're the best places. And then if you're interested in that course, it's agamepoker.com, and it just links you through to the sales page that you can find there. So they're the different ways of doing it. And I'm around. I'm on social media and things. People ask me questions. I try my best to answer them when I can. They're the different ways to find me.
Well, I'm sure you only get like one question a week, right? That's probably about
just one.
Yeah. Well, guys, any final questions for Elliot or Elliot? Any final words of wisdom or advice for the folks that are out there listening?
Yeah, just keep an open mind to it. As I say, you're supposed to be skeptical if you hear this for the first time. That's absolutely normal. But just have an open mind to what sort of edge could I generate if it took an extra 3 hours before I went on tilt, and what would that mean for my year? And I think if you start doing the maths on that in your head, it can start to make sense why some professionals take mindset work so seriously.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time. This means a lot to Rec Poker Nation to have you take the time and come on here. We'll support you in any way that we can. If you need anything, for sure, let us know. If you're introducing a new product, let us know, and we'll let the folks know. But seriously, I think this is super helpful for a lot of us.
Hey man, I'm happy to help. And if you guys do end up setting up something, a private group, I'll come and do a call just for your group as well. If you do that through the course, if that would be something that's useful for you.
Well, that would be awesome. We'll hear what the feedback is. People always tell us kind of what resonated with them. So there it is, you guys. If we're able to get a group together and we're all doing this thing together, we can get the Elliot Roe to kind of come in and actually help clarify any questions that we have. That's very generous. I appreciate that. No
problem at all. And once again, thanks so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to do some housekeeping thing here, so you can feel free to. Well, you're welcome to listen in on all of this if you'd like, but you can feel free to drop off here, and we will connect with you later.
Excellent. Cheers, guys. Have a great evening.
All right. Thanks, Elliot.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, good stuff, guys. Any kind of quick feedback? Any kind of quick thoughts on that?
I like Elliot. I've listened to his podcast for a while. He used to do it regularly, and it was kind of interesting listening to that over the time, especially a few years ago. There was a little fallout between like him, Patricia Kartner, and Mason Malmuth. On whether or not the Mason's point of view was everything's just understand the rules of the game and then you won't make any mistakes. And the other point of view is, sometimes you got to actually feed your mental energy in order to let your analytical brain actually function properly. So, good.
Great discussion. Yeah.
I
Rob?
used to listen to Elliot Roe and Trisha Gardner. They had a poker mindset podcast together. Now he's still doing the poker mindset, but he's not doing it as regularly as he used to. But yeah, I've been listening to Elliot Roe for many, many years now. And it's funny, he mentioned that he's got some YouTube videos out there. So I jumped onto YouTube on my other computer over here. The first one right at the top is adjusting to working from home.
Oh, really?
Which is like, hey, there's a lot of us doing that now.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked at it yet, but I think that's something that I'm going to take a look at because I think that's be very valuable for a lot of people now. I know everybody that I work with in my office has to work from home. They're told that that's if they're able to, they have to work from home. So there's a lot of people, I'm sure, right now in that same boat. So
yeah, no, that's so good. And I think so many of us are like, okay, well, we just got to fight through it. And that is part of it. But there is a mindset piece. I think that a lot of it, we don't realize how impacted we are and how much that can get in the way of being more productive or optimal performance.
Yep.
John, did you have something else?
No, I'm just excited to talk about our home game now.
Waiting for the cue. I did want to. I want to see if Andrew wants to jump on here, but he had a comment in here that Andrew said that he's been doing some guided meditation before he plays for the last month or so, and he just realized that one of the things that he's been using is Elliot Roe's stuff. So that's another endorsement from Andrew. So yeah, go ahead, John. I keep cutting you off.
That's all right.
We've been warning you to not be muted and warning you to be ready for this thing, and then I just keep cutting you off. It's just a big test, man. It's just my petri dish.
Well, everyone's probably better off not listening to me anyway.
Oh, come on now. Come on. Nicest guy in poker. Let's go.
So we've got our home game, our normal home games that count for the player of the year points is happening. The next No Limit Hold'em event is on April 1st, and a Limit Hold'em event is on April 8th. If you go to the rec.poker PokerStars home games page, you will find there is a tutorial just in case you need to know how to play Limit Hold'em. I think it's super similar to No Limit Hold'em. It's just the betting that is changed. So most of you probably won't need it, but if you want a little tutorial, it's there for you.
Yeah, I love it, John. I watched it again. John puts those together, and they're fantastic because I've never played Limit Hold'em. I don't really get it. What is 1-2? What is 2-4? It sounds so obvious when you've done it, but I don't really get. Oh, and then the bets can increase at this point in time, and I think it's fantastic to have that tutorial.
And then, of course, we've been running our social distancing series, and on March 23rd we had IDKWDYA, which is the letters for I don't know, why do you ask? That's David Bear.
which his dad told him at one point. His dad labeled him that. I found out the inside story.
Ah, excellent. On the 24th, it was Website Mark Prashan. On the 25th was String Bend, who's Troy Graffatine. On the that was the 25th. The 26th was 2x4 Man, Al Anderson. And that tournament actually had our record number of players. We had 60 players enter that tournament. Then on the 27th, we had Rec.Op Gib, which is Big Poker backwards. So we need to know who this person is. Each winner is going to get a bronze pin for winning these things, but you got to let us know who you are. If you don't contact us and let us know who you are in real life, we can't give you the pin.
Yeah, or if anybody out there knows who Big Poker Backwards is, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. On the 28th, we had Now Then KB, which is Doug Behrens.
Doug Behrens. He used to play in my home game, then he moved to Florida. So he's down there enjoying life down there.
Excellent. And on the 29th, we had Roadstar 33, who's another person that we need to know who you are. So contact us for that. And to let everyone know, we have decided to continue with the social distancing series. I know here in Minnesota, we are still under lockdown, basically. So we are going to continue the social distancing series. It will not have that tournament on the nights that we have our normal home games, But every other night will be part of the social distancing series. And if you win one of those, you're going to get a bronze pin. And we're even trying to work out details that if you win one of these tournaments, maybe we'll have like a playoff for everyone at some later date.
Love it. It's so fun, man. Thanks for putting that all together. I know it's more work than people realize, and especially tracking all that stuff. But popular demand, people said, are you going to continue? Are going to continue? I started getting the text yesterday, and I've had a few more today. And so we kind of scrambled the jets to see if we were going to continue, and I think people are going to be pretty excited about it.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
I'm getting excited about the final table, or if we get this invitational at the end for all the previous winners.
Yeah.
Battling it out for the coveted silver pin.
Right.
I've heard good things about this silver pin, so I gotta get the bronze pin first. I've played in a few of these. I've made a couple final. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get members that can watch this live. You can see the silver pin. Boy, that looks nice, Steve. I want one.
I know. Well, you better get a bronze one first.
I know. That's the way it works. I've been to a couple final tables. Sorry, Rob. What was that? Yeah.
All of us are still waiting for that bronze pin.
That's true.
None of us have qualified yet.
I think I made the money once.
John, you got one, don't you? You got a championship. I think we'll probably make it available to the winners of the monthlies too. We haven't yet decided, but I'm sure we'll do that. So.
Oh yeah, I might have won one of those. I don't remember.
Might have, maybe, possibly. Yeah.
Sounds like you, John.
Yeah.
Well, the home games are just part of what we're doing in April. The theme of the month is equity, odds, stack to pot ratio, and bet sizing. And by the time anyone hears this, it'll be Tuesday morning on March 31st, and we'll have just released the seminar for the month, which is a wonderful piece of work. Chris Jones, who isn't here today, took the lead on putting that together, and there's some great content there on those subjects. We're also going to be releasing a little discussion that we're having later tonight on online play, where we'll be examining some tools you can use to play online, to track your progress, some tricks of the trade, some rookie mistakes that you can avoid, and just to have some general conversation about that. So we'll release that to our members. That should be available Tuesday morning as well. And then on Friday, we'll be releasing our recordings of our own play of the home game. So you can get a sense of what we're thinking about as we play. And then next week, we've got all sorts of new exciting stuff coming out, some learning with partners that we'll get into next week. I don't want to blow everyone's minds just yet, but
it's big.
It is big. And there's some big stuff coming here at rec.poker. So members, come and check it out. Look in the archive. Steve's got a post up with all the content that's coming up and everything. Come take part in that. And there's a lot of great poker strategy coming out in the month of April.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Great stuff by you and Chris and the whole team on all that stuff. Some really cool stuff. We'll probably get into it a little bit more next week. But if you're a member or if you're not a member, now's the time to do your 1 month free trial. I would really encourage this to be the month that you give a free trial. A lot of really cool stuff coming up. So thanks for all of that. But yeah, just go to rec.poker. Everything's out there. We try to give you all the information on here, but go to rec.poker. It's all out there. Sign up for the newsletter. That's a great way to stay plugged in. Once again, I want to thank Elliot Roe. If you're interested in his masterclass that he talked about, I did review it, and it looks really good. $300, which is a lot of money, but when you think about the edge that it could create, we do have an affiliate relationship with them. So if you go to rec.poker/resources, we have a link to that masterclass out there. So use that link at support direct poker. Get you that for $297. And let me know, or let one of us know, if it's something that you do want to kind of form a study group around. Now, we'd all need to buy the course unless we can really work our magic and get some sort of a discount on a group thing. But it starts with you just showing interest, and then we'll see if we can maybe do this. I'm more than happy to facilitate a discussion around that because I would love to go through it myself. So let us know on that deal. Thanks to the whole crew here, John and Rob and Jim. Taylor and Chris couldn't be here tonight, but those guys are always a big part of everything that we do. Next week, we do have Matt Berkey scheduled, Mr. Solve for Why. Who we've had, Rob's got the 2 thumbs up going. We've had him on a couple times, and he's just a dude that I certainly love talking with. So you guys will have to really interject questions to keep me out of that thing because I'm going to be all over this guy picking his brain. But we're scheduled to have him on next week, and he's got some big announcements as well. As far as some things that are going on at Solve for Why. So we're going to close off here, but we do have this pre-recorded final announcements. If you really don't know what's going on at Rec Poker and you want to kind of hear everything that's going on, stay tuned for that deal. But have a great week. on and off the felt, and we will chat with you next week. Welcome to the announcements section for the Rec Poker Podcast. You're going to hear all about our free stuff, how you can support us, the products available for purchase, products from our affiliates, how to connect further, and how to reach us. There are 5 main ways to engage for free. You can play our Poker Stars home games the first and second Wednesday of every month at 8 o'clock Central Time. You can join us on Discord for all kinds of great conversation and virtual railing. We have the Facebook group that's always open for discussion. You can follow us on Twitter at rec.poker, where we have all kinds of cool stuff posted and we keep you up to speed on everything going on. And you can join our email list to get our weekly newsletter, Twerp, This Week in Rec Poker. There are also 5 ways that you can support us. You can support us on Patreon for as low as $1 a month, and it'll give you a chance to sit in on the podcast. You can like, rate, and review the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or wherever you hear the podcast. You can share, retweet, comment on Facebook and Twitter. You can rep the brand. We got merchandise available. And most of all, you can let other people know about us. There are 5 main Rec Poker products currently available to purchase. You can get a membership for $10 a month or $100 a year to get access to all of our content and our other discussions. You can join the Bar League community, which is $300 a year, but only $100 a year if you join by March 31st. You can become part of the Home Game community, which is $100 a year, but only $40 a year if you join by March 31st. You can submit videos for analysis by your choice of coaches, or you can get personal one-on-one coaching with your choice of coaches. We are currently building up our affiliate program, and right now, we are an affiliate for Learn Pro Poker. You can use our code and get some discounts, some special deals. Go to rec.poker and look for Learn Pro Poker. If you want to connect further and engage more deeply, you can do so by becoming an ambassador, by representing Rec Poker in a specific area. You can become an affiliate, which helps spread the word and sell products. You can become a champion, where you promote the brand, you wear the merch, you're active on social media, and you have a chance to refer products for a commission. Or you can be just a friend of Rec Poker and help us spread the word that way. You can also become a sponsor of the podcast, some of our events, or all things Rec Poker. There's several ways that you can reach out to contact us if you need to. Rec.poker, Discord, email, newsletter, Twerp, Facebook, Twitter. But you can get all the information at rec.poker or just email me, Steve, at rec.poker. Thanks once again to our official sponsor, Running Aces Racetrack Casino and Hotel, who has supported us since episode number 1. Also thanks to Learn Pro Poker and Website Amp. Make it a great week, everybody.